As the US-China battle for supremacy escalated in the past few weeks following Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, China's continued attempts to assert its influence in the Indian Ocean remain unabated. Beijing docked what military experts call a dual-use spy ship, Yuan Wang 5, at Sri Lanka's Hambantota port in the Indian Ocean. The ship was docked at the port from August 16 to August 22. The bigger question, however, is why. While some say it was Beijing's response to Washington's recent diplomatic maneuvers in the South China Sea, others call it an attempt to prevent deepening India-Sri Lanka ties, especially in the wake of India's continued multifaceted support to the island nation during its economic and political crisis. While New Delhi raised concerns over the ship's docking, Sri Lanka, which according to the observers finds itself caught between a rock and a hard place, released a statement in consonance with the Chinese stance. The statement said that there were no underpinnings to the recent developments at the port, and the docking of Yuan Wang 5 was merely a part of the regular patrolling exercises. Experts skeptical of both China and Sri Lanka's explanations have asked why an ultra-modern space-tracking ship used to monitor satellite, rocket, and intercontinental ballistic missile launches was used for a patrolling exercise.
It's very clearly a spy ship. Sri Lanka knows exactly what it is. Sri Lanka also knows the consequences of what is going to happen. India also knows that if you allow it to happen once, it's going to happen over and over again, and then it might even become a permanent base after that.
Clearly, there is more to the situation than what meets the eye. As per media reports, Sri Lanka was initially reluctant to allow the ship to enter its waters, fearing this could impact the island nation's chances of securing monetary support from neighbor India, the other Quad member Japan, and other Western countries. However, experts believe that Beijing leveraged its dominance in the Beijing-Colombo bilateral arrangement, and Sri Lanka caved to Chinese pressure. Sri Lanka succumbing to China's debt-trap diplomacy could also be another factor. China remains a large creditor to Sri Lanka, and the cash-strapped island nation has been instructed by the IMF to begin debt restructuring talks with China in order to secure a bailout for its people who are suffering from crippling shortages of basic necessities. Currently, Sri Lanka is negotiating for a package between 2 to 3 billion USD, and without Beijing's nod, the process might plunge into an indefinite delay. Although Sri Lanka is not in any position to put up any form of resistance to China, its tourism minister, Haran Fernando, who was in India last week, said India has turned out to be a close friend of Sri Lanka, and that India was being kept apprised of the real-time situation in Sri Lanka through top channels. Unlike China, India's support to Sri Lanka continues to flow without any strings attached.
Sri Lanka has to be good friends with everyone, and I'm sure India understands it, and we have had a very good diplomatic relationship with India, and our foreign minister, our president, is constant touch with the foreign minister here and the Prime Minister Modi as well.
The recent turn of events has also rung loud alarm bells for the West. Beijing's control over the Hambantota port also means that Beijing, if remaining unchallenged, can gain control and thereby disrupt the Asia-Europe trade route. An already crippled supply chain will go for a toss if any confrontation occurs in the region. Experts say it is also a challenge for the Quad, the security alliance between the US, India, Australia, and Japan. While they have been pushing for a free Indo-Pacific, Beijing continues to flex its muscles in the region with frequent naval superiority exercises and show of force by military jets. Experts also say that the main area of focus should still be on the reality on the ground in Sri Lanka. The island nation and its people are still deep in the throes of economic and political crisis, and the priority should be on first helping the Sri Lankan people. There is unending misery and suffering for the people of Afghanistan. A year after the Taliban resumed power, people in the war-torn country are not just struggling for their daily bread and butter, but their lives also hang by a thread amidst an increasingly hostile atmosphere. As per the United Nations, some 250 people lost their lives in recent weeks, the highest monthly number of civilian casualties over the last year. Most recently, on August 17th, a bomb ripped through a mosque in capital Kabul during the evening prayers, which killed at least 21 people, including children and a cleric. More than 30 others were seriously injured. Doctors and staff at Emergency Hospital, a facility run by an Italian NGO, rushed to save as many lives as possible with limited resources in hand. But there is only so much that can be done in the crisis-stricken country as the situation becomes worse daily at the hands of the Taliban.
It's not my place to comment why and who is responsible for it, but definitely that people and civilians are getting injured and that they are suffering and that they are dying from bullets, shrapnels. It's evident.
Islamic State Khorasan province is being seen as the main perpetrator of these horrific attacks that have escalated since the Taliban takeover last year. Past attacks by Islamic State have targeted civilians, places of worship, and Afghan minority groups. Taliban-led Afghanistan has been able to do nothing to stop these attacks from taking place. Gurdwara Karte Parwan, the largest holy place for minority Sikhs in Afghanistan, was attacked twice in 2 months. In a major attack at the Sikh temple in June, 2 people lost their lives and many were injured. The attack also prompted panic-stricken Hindus and Sikhs to flee Afghanistan. The Gurdwara was again attacked by a bomb on July 27. The Taliban government, which has yet to gain legitimacy in the eyes of the West and other countries in the world, continues to face economic sanctions, causing a massive shortage of essential items such as medicines.
Unfortunately, the first half of August, there were several incidents similar, and we are worried about the availability of beds, as Dea was saying, because this is something that anytime someone is coming to our gate, for us is a patient, and is our duty, our role to treat him or her in the best way as possible.
The Taliban's capture of Kabul on August 15, 2021, brought the hardline rulers back into power in Afghanistan nearly 20 years after they were toppled by the United States invasion following the 9/11 attacks. The growing conflict of the ruling Taliban with Islamic State Khorasan province and National Resistance Front of Afghanistan continues to keep Afghanistan on the boil. According to the International Crisis Group, Western countries are concerned with Afghanistan becoming a safe haven for dangerous insurgents and terrorist groups, fearing that jihadist groups will launch attacks upon the West. The Taliban's treatment of women has further kept the West away from providing any assistance to the Afghan government. Despite the grim situation, many resilient Afghan citizens still believe that the violence and terrorism is temporary, that good and happy old days are around the corner, and that the country will return to its previous prosperity in times to come.